Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Well, we're out in our oat paddock today and it's not looking too bad. We've got a little bit of a ryegrass issue in a few places down here, and it's a little bit thin in a couple of other spots. We have sprayed the ryegrass, but there's not much that will touch the ryegrass in oats anymore. It's resistant to most things. Today we're out spreading, we're going to be spreading some fertiliser, and this will help it grow a bit faster and a bit thicker. So to do our spreading today, we're using our Massey Ferguson 178 and our little CE fertiliser spreader. And urea's a bit hard to get at the moment. So today we're using a granulated sulphate of ammonia product, which is still a urea based product. It's still a nitrogen based product. You need to put a little bit more on than urea, but I've been able to get it this week. I've got some urea coming next week, so we're just going to put this ton out that I've got today, and we'll do a bit more over the next couple of weeks as well. And it looks like we may get some rain this afternoon to wash it in, which will be really good. Spreading fertiliser is a reasonably quick process. Depending on how smooth your paddocks are, we can travel along at 10 k's an hour or a little bit faster, and we've got a reasonably wide spread on this machine. It's very important to make sure the chain at the front of the spreader here keeps turning. This is the chain that sweeps the fertiliser back onto the spinner and puts it out onto the crop. There's a chain off the wheel that drives this chain, and from time to time something goes wrong, or the chain off the wheel comes off and this chain stops turning. Then you're not getting any fertiliser put out anymore. The dust coming from the back of the spreader is a good sign that everything is working properly. If the fertiliser stops feeding or the spinner stops turning, the dust stops appearing, and you know that you've got to stop and find out what's gone wrong. All of the stock seem to like eating the oats. Even the dogs, for some reason, they have a good feed on them regularly. We're across in our wheat paddock now, and we're going to spread some nitrogen fertiliser out here too. It's not looking too bad, the wheat. There's relatively little ryegrass in this. There's a few patches where it came up a little bit thin. I'm not quite sure what happened here. This was on a turn, just as so I would have stopped down there in the bare patch. But generally it's looking pretty good. There's a little bit of radish coming up in it at the moment, which we'll probably spray out next weekend. I tend to leave the radish later to spray it because it keeps coming up. If I spray this as soon as I can, then it just keeps germinating. I get germination of radish right through to October. So yeah, I leave it as late as I can. That means I get the least amount of it coming up that I'm not killing. Anyway, we'll get out with the tractor and put a bit of fertiliser out on this. We're just out in the wheat, and an interesting little spot here. This used to be an old driveway going up here. Now this hasn't been used for probably 15 years now, maybe a little bit more, and you can still see the line through the crop, where the crop is always a bit thinner and doesn't grow quite as well. That's partly because of how compacted the ground is here deep down. Even though it's been deep ripped and various things over the years, but it's also because the soil microbia hasn't all come back yet. This probably needs some good mulch here to try and encourage it back. But when we first started ploughing over this driveway, the soil was a very different colour. and it had sunken a bit, partly because of the compaction and partly because the soil was now dead. It didn't have the microbia in it. So whenever you're planning your farm tracks and where you're going to drive in your paddocks, just keep in mind how long it takes to get that soil back to being fully productive again after that. Now this driveway was probably used regularly for 40 years or something to compact it this much. For some reason up here it changes and the crop grows a lot better across it. I'm not sure what the difference on this line here is, but it does seem to change rather dramatically. But yeah, just keep in mind, plan your tracks and where you're going to put them, because it does affect your soil for a long time after you have finished using them. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!